It's a brand new year and it's a brand new season of Spec-5 World Tour as Season 17 comes to you this season on HJBC, beginning here at Virginia International Raceway VIR. Spec-5 World Tour now in its 17th season. It's been providing competitive and controlled MX-5 racing, a rapidly growing competition, has many new drivers this season, as well as the returning champion Thomas Fisher. Taking a look at the weather at the circuit, a 45-minute race ahead of us. We're so excited to get going in this new season here on HJBC. David Haynes here with Devin Peters, Michael Derby in the production to bring you all of our pictures, graphics, and replays today as we see who is going to start a new season on a strong forward foot.
And what better place to do it than at the home of racing here in Virginia? Majestic flowing green fields that's going to be overtaken by a herd, it must be said, of angry Miatas here shortly. I can't even count how many cars are on the grid right now, Haynes. It's going to be a huge field, and I'm just so excited to see this season kick off.
And there's many new faces as well to the championship. So if you've got some teammates, some friends, some family you're trying to keep up with, HJBC.live all season has your live timing while these sessions are live. If you're watching this as a replay on YouTube, sorry, but for all of our live viewers, that's the place you can keep up with qualifying, with the strategy across the race. We'll do our best, but if you've got a particular focus, that's one of the places you can check for more information. We go to qualifying right now. It's 15 minutes. Each driver gets 4 laps. You saw this is a pretty big racetrack here at VIR. Certainly not as compact as Laguna Seca, Lime Rock, or some others like that, Mid-Ohio even, for example. So getting your outlap and 4 flying laps into this 15-minute window could be a little bit of a challenge. You don't want to dilly-dally too long, and that's why you see a whole heap of our drivers out here right now, feeling out the conditions, preparing their tyres, and ready for their first qualifying lap. There's Ronnie Coates, for example. Looks beautiful and green, and it looks a perfect day out there. A little on the cooler side, but that's going to give us good lap times and a lot of grip.
Cold air, more power. The drivers were worrying a little bit about the cold tire temperatures in the pre-race, so we'll see if that becomes a factor later on. And we're starting to see them go around and around. VIR is such a good place for these cars too. Plenty of big straightaways and flowing corners to really sort of show off the finest bits of the Mazda Miata. I'm really excited, Haynes. I just can't get over it.
46 drivers, so there's many to keep up with. It's partly cloudy. That's just a little bit more breeze than you might expect. Most iRacing sessions have hardly a whisper of it, but that's a little bit to move the clouds along, keep the weather changing. Camden Hibbert, a race winner last season, didn't do the full season, but I think he won the one that he did do. So that's a good strike rate from him lately.
Yeah, he's a busy guy. He's got all those real world races to get to too. So a lot of stout competition here for him. I bet you he's looking forward to the challenge.
Yeah, lots of Mazda scholarshiping to do. Another newish driver, Jamison Sampaio. What we do have is a whole contingent of drivers from Brazil, and I think one of them's come along and they've brought their friends and it's really bolstered out the grid with a whole heap of new drivers here. CFPM is the livery that we're seeing. CFPM Sampaio, the team name that they're entered under. João Hedler is about to start the first of his 4 flying laps. I'm seeing it took almost 3 minutes to get around on this outlap. Yeah, my number crunching then on the back of the envelope says you are going to need to hustle around if you're going to get all 4 of your flying laps. Can be a bit of a lottery as well. Is 4 the right number of qualifying laps to do? Second lap, usually faster than the first as the tyres continue to warm up. Sometimes on these longer tracks, you get to that 4th lap and you've used the best of the tyre, you've overheated it a little bit. So maybe some of them, they've got to push on that outlap, push on lap 1 and 2. If lap 3 by about a third of the way around isn't an improvement, back off a little bit, try to cool the tyres for that very final lap. Right now, it's the first lap. and you're seeing climbing up through the S's in the Mazda MX-5. You can keep basically full throttle, but you're trying to thread the perfect line to set you up. Downhill, the car wants to wash wide, and there is no more oak tree here, but it's still the oak tree corner as it tightens and tightens. Just wide of the apex curb, but plenty of the exit curb. David Zacamo is going to carry speed onto the back straight, now known as Madison Avenue.
Yeah, carrying good speed he is too. He's one of that new contingent of Brazilians, and he's looking fast. He was setting laps in the top 5 in qualifying, and looks to be continuing that sort of pace with the splits he's setting so far through this one.
It's a super tightly fought 4-way tussle for the championship last season in season 16. Lincoln Fox was one of those drivers in the hunt for the outright title. Back to give it another go. Warming the tyres as we see there. Getting some of the first lap times. Michael Folds, Olivier Piatek put their lap times in, but there's many other drivers around with some faster sectors. None of them yet displacing Michael Folds from right at the top, as we've now got over 10 lap times. Giancarlo Scuola goes to the top. And did I see parked it after one lap? Interesting. Tyres
I saw that too. He parked it, and he's doing a very aggressive warm-up on the way out of the pits now for his second lap. So curious stuff.
That's one to watch now. Almost 30 lap times in. Andrew Gilliland here. Returning driver to the series. Still very, very young. Not as young as when we first saw him racing in Spec-5 World Tour. He's a 13, 14-year-old. 10 minutes left in this qualifying session. We've got pro and open class drivers in the Spec-5 World Tour. They all race together. They all score points together. They're classed identically. It's only after the race that the points table breaks them out into pro class drivers and open class drivers. There's no split on the grid. There's no split in the points scoring. So if an open class driver scores very highly in the outright at any particular race, they can score a lot of points that may be difficult for other open class drivers to match at other races. Karl Genski, returning champion of the open class. A little refresh to the livery there. I think there's a little bit more white on that thing. And he's at the top of open class qualifying at the moment from Logan Frey and Daniel Arturo by the looks of things.
Taking that sort of moderate line through the middle of Oak Tree. You kind of, it's always one of those ones where you're like, how wide can I push it on the entry? And he decided the middle was the fastest way. Curious to see how that works out. Gotta be feeling pretty good about that first lap though. He put himself 5/10 ahead of the next guy in open class.
Jeremy Fletcher goes to the top, displacing Giancarlo Scuola, who displaced João Hedler. David Zacamo goes into third. So, of course, on this second lap, it's all change again as more tyre temperature's gone in. Drivers maybe have their banker lap and they're willing to play a little more dangerously with track limits and with the amount of risk they're willing to take as they progress through qualifying, looking to improve and improve and improve. To Fletcher, from Hedler, from Scuola, Zacamo, Piatek as our top 5 in the moment.
Scuola's coming around, and that he parked it after one, if I recall correctly, or was that João?
Yep. No, it was Scuola.
Yeah, so Scuola parks it after one, but he didn't set a single sector that was better on the second try, so not sure that plan's worked out for him.
Well, he would have just completed his outlap and be starting his third lap at his second flyer, I think, at the moment. So right on board with Advanced Autosports, Giancarlo Scuola. A little tight on the way through into the left here. Plenty of extra paved runoff there that is totally legal to use. Trying to hang tight through the left-hander, get to full throttle and keep full throttle as early as you possibly can through the lower S's here. Seen of an accident or two in some previous seasons of the Spec-5 World Tour when you try to race side by side through there. But going single file through qualifying, you can pick a very, very nice line through there and carry your speed along here. Again, up the hill, full throttle, but just gentle inputs, trying to put the nose of the car to follow the perfect line to end up in the braking zone, just to flick into the downhill left-hander here. These sectors,
they're looking pretty good. I was a little bit quick to judge. He's got 2 purple sectors in 1 and 3, and we'll see how that works.
interesting. We will see. We will see, because this is a very different way of attacking the qualifying from Schooler. A few of the other drivers have surpassed his first lap run, and then he's gone and tried to set another lap here in the same method as the first flying lap.
It's working. Purple again.
To the roller coaster. Rear of the car's dancing a little bit down into the first gear. Now a sequential gearbox in the Mazda MX-5 Cup car when back in the day it was the road car H pattern. They moved away from that, went to a Sadev sequential. Puts the revvy little Mazda engine a little bit more in its peak power band more often, and apparently saves them from doing as many money shifts. So it's a bit of an investment that saves money in the long run for these cars, and it's given them a little bit more performance along with some of the other updates along the way. So more lap times are going to come in. Giancarlo Schooler is going to go back to the top of the timing again, 0.04 of a second quicker than Jeremy Fletcher. It's super competitive with 3 drivers within a tenth, and there's still more improvement to happen for sure.
Yeah, you thought that one was fast. Zhao just set a purple sector, and we're seeing a few others popping up throughout the field, so this thing isn't quite done yet.
Yep, Kyle Genski just completed a lap that was a little bit of an improvement. So in the open class, he remains at the top of that. Logan Frey and Andrew Gilliland, I think, has gone to 3rd in that. Of course, lots changing very quickly in the qualifying order in a closed qualifying session where each driver has the track to themselves, but are driving at the same time, so they can end up very, very densely clumped, and 10, 20 lap times can all come in together instead of one, then the next, then the next, then the next, like you'd expect in an open qualifying session. I don't think this lap's going to be any quicker for Kyle Genski. He's weaving on the back straight. Camden Hibbett is in 8th at the moment. Michael Coates is 15th. The timing line is a long way down the front straight. It's there, basically at the pit exit, in line with the flagging stand that's got Michelin man Bibendum. Bonjour, Monsieur Bibendum.
And Coates had a couple good sectors there, put him up to 15th, but not enough to crack even the top 10. Camden Hibbett's coming to the line and crossed the line and stopped. He put in a pretty quick one as well. That's a 2:06.2, but only good for 8th place. And it is tight at the front end of the field. I think we got the top 10 within 4/10.
Yes, super tight, particularly from 1st to 8th or 9th. Lincoln Fox is part of that in 6th position right now. This will be the final qualifying lap of the session for Fox, if I've got this right. I think a few others have completed their 4th now, so quite a few cars have parked up. Schooler, Fletcher, Hedler, Carmo, and Piatek, the top 5. We're not going to see any more lap times from, but Lincoln Fox, we still might need to find 2/10 to get to pole, though, is going to be a tough ask. Only need to find 2/100 to get one more spot.
Yeah, I saw Coates take a little slide through NASCAR that time, so not super optimistic that this is going to be faster, but might just be driving it in to see what the pit entry feels like. Pretty slow second sector there.
So Kyle Genski, leader of open class, is done. Peter Osorkis has gone to 2nd and he's parked. Logan Fry 3rd and parked, but Michael Coates is coming through this challenging final sector of the lap from the roller coaster, descending rapidly downhill into the hog pen. A lot of elevation change, a lot of curb that you got to take through there. Michael Coates is going to the pit entry. One thing to note about the pit entry here at VIR, you cannot cut that yellow and green paint. If you do on your pit entry, you will be held basically 40 seconds at your pit stop. It's an absolutely crushing penalty. You need to be very precise on your pit entry at this racetrack. It's sort of a inconsistency across a lot of the racetracks on iRacing, how they enforce what is and isn't an unsafe pit entry. Here at VIR and at the Red Bull Ring Austria, it's very fiercely enforced. At others, it's incredibly, incredibly lax. You just got to remember, this is one of the strict ones.
So, Haynes, what does a green set of numbers mean?
Personal best. Who's doing personal best?
No, I meant on the driver numbers.
Who's got it?
Saw Lee Martin with a green number, I think.
Well, he's the reigning Mr. Clean champion, so don't expect too many incident points out of him.
Makes sense. Lots of fun ways to compete in this series. Open, pro, clean. Bonus points for leading. Lots of good stuff going on.
Not seeing much improvement from that lap for Jason Stalker in the 36th outright. Ray Lombardi's completing an in lap. Lee Martin likewise as well. With a pit stop expected in the middle of the 45-minute race in the fuel window, practicing that pit entry could be pretty important. That's the wrong pit entry to practice on the south course there. Interestingly enough, it will lock in our grid though. 46 drivers with a qualifying time. Giancarlo Scula on the pole position. This looks all right. So the front row will be Scula and Fletcher, Joe Hedler and Davi Giacomo, teammates on the second row of the grid. Oliver Piatek for Delta Sport and Lincoln Fox in sixth. I can't read that team name. Oh, yes, I can. Sargento BMW Motorsport powered by Johnsonville. Yep, the cheese and sausage car. So in seventh and eighth, Jemison Sampaio and Camden Hibbert. Ken Copeland and Eugenio Polici, 9th and 10th. A super competitive top 10, split by just tenths of a second. Ronnie Coates and Michael Folds are 11th and 12th, and then Michael Chase, John Miller, Michael Coates, Robert Hartley. Carl Genske is the open class pole sitter. He's got the blue stripe underneath his position. And then a lot of pro cars behind him in Donnie Moffat, Ray Lombardi, and Mitchell Peake as the top 20. Kirill Bondar 21st. A few more open class drivers here with Peter Rosorkis, Logan Frey, and Renan Ribeiro. Back to pro drivers with Otis Adams, Nick Janney, Brian Tabelski, Andrew Gilliland, Rui Coimbra, and Sean Hayes. And we have Geordie Fike, Marcus Bonato, Paul Murgatroyd, Lee Martin, Christian Ost, Jason Stalker, Greg Mack, Mike Oswalt, Todd Martin, and Daniel Arturzo. And Andy Cosick, Mark Kruger, Travis Hewitt, Josh Olson, Derek Putnam, and Lewis Formiga. Formiga? Yep. As the last driver with a qualifying time. Gareth Brocklesby, Cameron Coolbeck, and Eric Queros. No qualifying time to take us to 49 Mazda MX-5s that are all lined up in the pit lane right now. So this is not quite how I thought the formation lap was going to happen, but it doesn't seem like Michael Derby can see the pace car. Oh, there it is.
Yeah, it seems like they're doing the pit lane start, so it'll be an extra long pace lap here. But that is the tradition here at VIR. And they are just streaming out of the pits. We're watching them going into, what is this, the fourth turn at this point. And there's still cars streaming out of the pit lane. So it's going to be a long pace lap, and it's going to be a pace lap that's going to require a little bit of coordination to get them all bunched back up together by the time this thing gets underway. But a great problem for the series to have, that's for sure. And
Lee Martin, Mr. Clean, 34th on the grid, big field for the new season. We got you, Lee?
Definitely not a bunch of... we've definitely got a bunch of great drivers up here, more than I was expecting, and I was not expecting to be P34.
Going to be a tough ask ahead of you to remain Mr. Clean this season, but we're very, very excited to see this one get underway. What's your feeling for the new season?
Oh, man, we have so much talent here. I am excited. I don't think there'll be a Mr. Clean in my future, but I'm hoping there'll be a couple of good races in the future.
Maybe the excitement boils over for everyone else, and that's how you get another Mr. Clean. Good luck, and enjoy VIR.
Thanks much, guys. Have a great one.
Lee Martin is right in the meat and potatoes of the field back there in the 34th outright, but I don't think he's in a bad position as far as the open class that he's a member of is part of. Kalgensky is, of course, way up the front of that class, but I think that's only 7th or 8th in class for Lee Martin. And of course, this has all the hallmarks of being particularly chaotic opening 10 minutes of the new season.
If I was a betting man, picking Mr. Clean to survive in the gigantic field race would feel appropriate to me. I think survival is going to be critical, as it always is in these big field races. And it's going to be fun. I mean, it's going to feel like the Nationals, the runoffs. It's going to be a good race today.
Most of the way around the formation lap, I think we're expecting to go green here as the Porsche pace car leads us down the roller coaster towards the hog pen. Keep an eye on that challenging pit entry once again. I don't think the pace car has to abide by it. Sometimes the pace car does some weird stuff, pulling away from the field. The front row again, Giancarlo Scula and Jeremy Fletcher. Oh no, very sensible entry from the pace car. Long run down the front straight before you see that green flag. It's all the way around past the pit lane and around towards the pit exit. Very curved front straight here at VIR. Partway around this curve is when we get the green flag. We get it now. Over 40 MX-5s for a new season of Spec-5 World Tour roar into life at VIR. The inside line taken by the pole sitter, Giancarlo Scula. As we head in towards the hairpin turn 1, they're 4 wide, they're 5 wide, they're parking on the way in. Everyone trying to safely work their way through the first turn of a new season, and the pole sitter remains the race leader, but João Hedler gets to 2nd place, and then Jeremy Fletcher strikes right back. Competitive already at the front of the field. Things get a little bit tighter here in a NASCAR and left hook. Into the lower S's. Scula, Fletcher, Hedler, the top 3 from the grid. There's Camden Hibbett getting sideways over the dirt as we head towards going underneath the infield access bridge and towards the climbing S's. They've settled things out in the first couple of cars, but they have not sorted things out here as we go 2 wide, heading into the climbing S's on the opening lap of the race. Hibbett still side by side, refusing to yield his ground. Got Michael Coates there for very, very close company as they go through the left-hander, dipping down into the valley here and then back up into the braking zone, slowing, and turning into Oak Tree, trying to set yourselves up to get the slipstream off your rivals down the back straight here and towards the roller coaster. That might be a slow down penalty being cleared there for Camden Hibbett as he lets a few drivers go.
Yeah, it looks like a slowdown there for Camden, but one man's problem is another man's fortune, and Kyle Genske's taken a couple of spots there as a result, holding off Robert Hartley, pro driver, from the pole position of the open class, right now running in 17th place, heading into roller coaster for the first time. Meanwhile, the open field is still spread out behind him. Seeing the likes of Andrew Gilliland now moving up to 2nd place, currently running in 23rd, so a few cars between himself and Genske. And Logan Fry 3rd on the podium at this point in open.
It's 1 lap of VIR completed. Oliver Piatek moves into 3rd position, so it's going to try to point out some of the positions gained around the front of the field. Piatek's just gone ahead of Hedler. He'd already gone ahead of David Takamo, so now into third position. Michael Folds has gained 2 into the top 10, and there's sort of a secondary group almost back there. These drivers pushing on very fiercely to try to remain with the front group of drivers. It's a key characteristic of Mazda MX-5 racing. And Donnie Moffat has moved 3 positions into 15th as well. So a few drivers making some gains. You've got to look to Nick Janney and Andrew Gilliland though before you see drivers who've gained 6 positions so far in this race. From 26th on the grid to 20th, Nick Janney. From 28th to 22nd for Andrew Gilliland. Oliver Piatek, though, could be one to watch up the front of this one.
Yeah, some of that youthful enthusiasm, I think, helping Gilliland make his move towards the front. No fear there. Speaking of fear, though, Kyle Genske had a bit of a scary moment on the exit, and we're seeing a few cars actually go wide there in the back of the shot on the exit of South Bend there.
Now, Jeremy Fletcher was wide from Oak Tree, and so I was wondering what's Piatek going to do, and Piatek's just going to push him right back up to the race leader, Giancarlo Scuola. So the games are already afoot as they're a single file line to the braking zone of the roller coaster. Piatek sitting in third right now for the moment, and seemingly content to do so, just wanting to stay with the leaders. That's why he pushed Fletcher to not let Scuola get any kind of breakaway there. And maybe just to try to create a top 3 or 4 or 5 car breakaway, because if it remains unbroken from 1st to 20th, things could get very messy as the race goes on. You want there to be a front car breakaway, and you want to be part of it. Piatek goes to second, as after being pushed down Madison Avenue, Jeremy Fletcher makes way for him on the front straight. Giancarlo Scuola still leading this race with a pit stop to come in the fuel window somewhere in the middle. There's plenty of games to be played about where's the best spot to be now. It may not be the race lead right now.
Yeah, especially in an MX-5, VIR is a track where you're going to spend most of the lap at full wide open throttle with a couple little interruptions through segments like this one as they come through the lower S's and head up the hill. But as soon as you make that right-hander, you're basically back to full throttle again. Being able to lift and coast a little bit is going to be key, and as we've seen in so many Spec-5 races before, the fuel mileage can be the game. It's really nose to tail though up at the front. It's 5 cars and they're right all over each other.
That's why I've got my eyes on Michael Chase right here, because there's a little bit of a gap opening up behind Lincoln Fox, perhaps even Ken Copeland in 8th. Yeah, so there's just a tiny bit of a gap between the top 7 and Ken Copeland here. He's going to need just a tiny bit of help to not let the leaders get away. Looked like coming up through the S's, he was a tiny bit further back. He's gained a little bit through Oak Tree, and now getting a good tow down Madison Avenue to the roller coaster. It's down and then back up and then down and then back up again on the straight here. Braking from the right-hand side, getting back across to the left to then drop down through the right-hander, and it just keeps dropping away further. So Piatek's made a position a lap to get to second place. Now he sits behind Giancarlo Scuola, and we've got drama at the top of the roller coaster. Trying to see which drivers were dropping back. Marcus Bonazzo, one or two others perhaps. Taking a look here.
Yeah, we'll see it here. They're coming in. Marcus Bonatto gets it a little bit wrong, and he's facing the wrong way when suddenly he is met by Mike Allswald, who has nowhere to go. Luckily, Mike is pretty quick on the reaction time. He gets the thing slowed down. No contact, but lots of positions lost.
But look who gets through here clean. Mr. Clean himself. Lee Martin stayed tight to the right, gave himself a little bit more space breaking into there, and he got through cleanly. Scuola still leads. Piatek's moved from 5th on the grid to 4th to 3rd, now into 2nd. And you won't find a 1 second gap between race cars from the race leader until you get to 18th place. That slowdown on the opening lap for Camden Hibbett, super costly from 8th on the grid. He runs 18th right now, leading train number 2. And quite a train it is. He's got his friend and sometime teammate Andrew Gilliland just behind him, so perhaps those two can work together somewhat. Kirill Bondar and Mitchell Peake, two other quick drivers just in behind as well. They might be seeing the top 17 and the lead group sailing away. Critically, your open class leader is in that front train. Kyle Genske is up in that front train. Everyone else in open class is in the second train and behind.
Yeah, I was just going to say that Genske's playing it real safe, just staying in the draft, but also giving himself a few car lengths so that he's got time to react. He's watching the rear bumper of Donnie Moffitt with Michael Coates just ahead, and all three of them and the 14 cars ahead of that are heading into roller coaster this time and keeping it clean. Things have cooled down at this phase of the race as they get through the first few laps, and now the drivers, I got to think, are starting to look towards the midsection, the pit stop, and the end of the race with how calm things are looking.
So, like a caterpillar, Kyle Genske follows Donnie Moffitt, he follows Michael Coates, who follows in the wheel tracks of the car in front. Everyone trying to get the slipstream, save a little bit of fuel. If you can stay with this pack, but lift and coast a little bit, could cut some time, gain some position when it gets to your pit stop. Giancarlo Scuola has led every lap to this point. He's not building any margin of buffer in terms of time to 16 drivers that continue to ride in his wheel tracks.
Second pack's getting a little bit spicy, including our open class podium. Logan Fry is now right on the rear bumper of Andrew Gilliland, who got a little shunt as they were heading up through turn number 1 there up the hill, and it looked like another car got pushed off. I'm trying to catch the name on it. I think that was perhaps Rui Coimbra, who was on the receiving end of a little punt. Either way, it is now pro drivers 18th through 21st. We're going to see it here in the red car. You'll see him get pushed off to the right-hand side.
Already a little bit of damage in this picture to Andrew Gilliland. And he was already a couple of spots back because he was right at his friend Camden Hibbett's bumper. And then by this point, he wasn't, and he had a little bit of damage. So a little bit of bumper-to-bumper impacts happening in this pack. Rui Coimbra is leading train number 3. That's how we're racing right now, and he's a chance with Geordie Fike to catch train number 2, especially if they lock bumpers like that in a straight line.
Up at the front of the field again, I'm watching Eugenio Polici and Michael Folds. Michael Folds is just about starting to break away, having nearly a second between himself and Eugenio. If that group at the front manages to get things split up, then they will, of course, run away with it with how powerful the draft is here. So going to be a critical few corners here as Eugenio and Ronnie try to reconnect with that top 10.
Things could also get interesting for the leaders in a lap or two when they come across lapped car Josh Olsen, returning open class driver. Not exactly sure what happened to him earlier in this race, but he's been through pit lane for repairs, and he is in fact almost 2 laps down to the race leaders that are behind him and approaching quickly. And if you get out of the way, you're going to have to get all the way out of the way and let 17 cars go. So that's in Josh Olsen's future that I'm sure is making him a little bit nervous. It's probably also a slightly nervous moment for race leader Giancarlo Scuola.
Yeah, a quick review of things would suggest that Josh Olsen managed to blow a motor. Not sure exactly how that happened. Either way, he's definitely in the crosshairs.
Oh, that's a way to get out of the way. All right, Josh Olsen, respect going to the club pit lane there. The blend's not going to be so great, buddy, but I respect the idea. But what it does is it breaks the slipstream, because the thing that he was going to have is he was going to lift out of the throttle and Giancarlo Scuola was going to follow him. He didn't want that. He didn't want Scuola to follow him. He's like, Scuola, if you pick a different line, all the other cars will follow you and I can get out of this. So all things considered, that could have been much, much, much worse and messier. And we keep our 17 cars together, separated by just 5 seconds. So it's only tenth of a second gaps on average. One car to the next, to the next, to the next. And as they come out of the hog pen, Olivia Piatek is already all over the rear bumper of Schooler. His front bumper to the leader's rear bumper, pushing him along, giving him a little bit of assistance down towards turn 1.
Yeah, saving that critical little bit and gaining a little bit of time in the meantime. Too wide, Jameson Sampiao Paeo is up the inside and makes the move on Lincoln Fox, cleans it up easily.
Fox tries to strike back somewhat, but it's too late on that one. Michael Folds has gained a spot or two through all of this as well, because he's now 9th.
Yeah, and once again, we're seeing that little, almost a gap forming. Eugenio's just holding it, keeping things, acting kind of as a bridge between the top 9 and the next 5 or so. And I think if you're wondering, Kyle Gansky still in 16th place. He's got to be keeping an eye on that too, worrying that maybe he's going to lose connection to the top 5.
Yeah, I think second pushing first has the effects of reducing the power of the slipstream in the cars behind and just stretching out the tail of this snake a little bit. Not something I recommend you do. Don't go trying to stretch out the tail of snakes. They don't like it.
He would know, folks. He would know.
Crikey, mate. Crikey.
The dangerous journey aside, these guys do seem to do a little bit better. The back half of the top 10 seems to do a little bit better through roller coaster than the front half does. Maybe it's just because the front half is approaching roller coaster at such a rate of knots, but either way, the top 19 are all back together again. 18 are all back together.
Briefly, a 3-car bump draft at the race lead there. The lap times are looking pretty quick. 206.3, 206.3, 206.1 from Jeremy Fletcher in 3rd there. And none of them even thinking about jumping for pit lane. 15 minutes of the race completed. And we're heading towards the middle section. Pit window might be open now, but if you're part of a quick group, it's Daytona 500 specs. You don't want to jump out of a quick group to run all by yourself slowly. If you can pit with someone, that's probably a good thing. So this group and the leaders will probably look to go long. You wonder if someone else eventually decides to do something different.
Yeah, and just like Daytona, you know, this is a scenario where you could see 5 guys pop off and go do their own thing on one lap, and then see another group of them come in on another lap. So will be pretty different fuel levels in these cars, depending on how much lift and coast they're doing. Of course, the front, like the peak of the grid, the tip of the grid is pushing really hard, but a little deeper, they're leaving a couple car lengths between them. So hard to say who's going to be the fuel winner at this point.
Tiny peek from Jeremy Fletcher before he has a tap on the brakes early just to stay in line with this leading group. They're doing great pace. They're basically matching Schooler's pole time. So that's how it's going along. He's Schooler, the race leader, being bump drafted somewhat as we go.
In the background, I just got to look at Josh Olson facing the wrong way over roller coaster as the field came through, but he rolled off the track and cleared out, so everything's okay. And sure enough, they're all back nose to tail as they go into turn 1 once again. This is marvelous, Haynes. Like, it must be said, we got 17 cars within 4 seconds, and they're fighting with everything they got for this thing with 20 more minutes to go in the season opener. Oh, this is going to be good.
This is the next group led by Camden Hibbett, and it's thinned out a little bit with Kirill Bondar, Mitchell Peake, and Andrew Gilliland. Nick Janney, he was up 6 positions at one point. Now he's dropping a little bit. Ray Lombardi passes him. Logan Frey, who's second in the open class, is just there. Peter Rasorkas third in class, so that's battle them. We're looking at Frey with Rasorkas just behind. Oh, how about side by side up through the S's? Please don't, gentlemen. But Kirill Bondar, sorry, and Camden Hibbett are that group. How about still side by side? The grass is not very grippy.
Oh no! Oh, a little contact there on the inside at Oak Tree. Easy to do. The course is just turning away from you. And Ray Lombardi somehow gets the worst of that. Nick Janney having the wide line gets carry a little bit more speed, and it's going to hurt Ray all the way down the straight until this slipstream kicks in. And so now Logan Frey, who had the run, is going to lose it until the lane change happens. And now he's pushing Nick Janney, and Ray Lombardi's stuck with no one behind him pushing. And he's going to be on the outside on the left-hander into roller coaster.
This is where you learn who your real friends are. Nick Janney leading the group in. Frey, I think he's got his elbows out more than you might expect from someone with a lot more to lose. Second in class. So Ray Lombardi between him and Peter Rasorkas now, though, as Christian Oster's gained a whole heap of positions through this race. He's now up some spots in the open class. None of these drivers looking at that pit entry, no siree.
Yeah, they are, and it's kind of interesting. We're checking back in at the front, but Camden Hibbett is doing his best to pull this group along. But even with him not having anyone anywhere near him to push, he's just losing time every single lap. Last time by 7/10, and it just doesn't seem to be making a dent on the guys ahead.
Well, Otis Adams in 36th place is the first driver in the field not having any fun. So he's not racing anyone. He's not in a draft train. Every other driver from 1st to 35th is, and we've got a few cars leaving pit lane here. Rory Coimbra, Jason Stalker, and Geordie Fike all kind of pitting together and now racing down towards turn 1 on their pit exit. Rory Coimbra is going to stay ahead of Jason Stalker with Geordie Fike just behind.
And the longtime fans will know these two have raced once or twice before. Oh, and Rory Coimbra hits the brakes, and Jason Stalker, I think, not quite ready for it. He runs wide, puts 2 tires in the dirt, and Geordie Fike comes by.
Greg Mack and Mike Kruger also pitting. Here it is. I think he got himself unsighted behind the car in front. Outside tires in the grass. Didn't help him make the turn at all. Jason Stalker.
And the leaders are coming by the pits, and the leaders are not entering the pits. So we will go another lap around this draft here, and they are nose to tail and pushing almost 3 deep again.
Could be quite a while before we see it, to be honest, because we haven't yet crossed the halfway point of this 45-minute race, which is 22 and a half minutes. So still just before the halfway. It's an early pit stop from some of those others that we've seen pit. It's an early pit stop for Camden Hibbett, Mitchell Peake. That next group, train number 2, I think are all in. They must have followed Camden Hibbett, so we get a chunk of other drivers. And Nick Janney and Jason Stalker have black flags. I don't know if that's pit entry, or if... For Janney, it's probably pit entry. For Stalker, it must be speeding on the pit exit. So long, painful pit stop for Nick Janney. He's not going anywhere when this train of cars get out of here. So Bondar just in behind Camden Hibbett.
And I guess if you're Camden, you're just hoping that you come out with someone to draft with, right? And maybe a little fresher tires, it'll get you there. He's going to have a couple friends nearby. Mitchell Peake still right behind.
So Giancarlo Schooler has led every single lap, and from all we've seen, second and third place are very happy for him to be there. Piatek's very happy to be in second. Jeremy Fletcher quite happy to be in third for the moment. Teammates of Hedler and Sampaio in this group as well. Maybe they know David Zacamo. I don't know. And we have crossed the halfway point of the race.
It is just wicked how the front end of this field is just glued together.
You've got to imagine some of the people in the middle of this, like Sampaio in fifth or Lincoln Fox there, or that they will have saved an incredible amount of fuel through this race. Apparently, one driver hasn't. That's Eugenio Polici.
He was kind of in no man's land for a little bit there for 3 or 4 laps where he was kind of floating between them. But you got to think, if you're Eugenio, you're hoping that someone comes with you, and that did not happen. Tough place to be all alone.
A couple of others pitting there as well. Logan Frey, Cameron Coolbeck, Paul Murgatroyd. So we're starting to get more, but we are not starting yet to get the leaders. A little bit of a split almost appears between 9th and 10th place. Ken Copeland is part of the leaders. Ronnie Coates has got to pedal quickly to stay with them, and he needs Michael Chase and John Miller to maybe give him a little bit of a bump draft. This is the split in the top 17. It's happening now.
Yeah, without Eugenio Polici to build the bridge, all of a sudden there's more than a second between 9th and 10th, and it's going to be hard to make that up without a little bit of help from the guys ahead. They got a little out of line, though, heading into South Bend that time. They might deliver. We'll have to see.
Surely
Lincoln Fox making a move
soon where it gets a little more feisty inside of the top 5. It's not yet. Lincoln Fox just outside of that top 5, getting feisty, going to 6th place. But with how compliant Piatek and Fletcher have been, this is still a race, so that will not last forever.
Some teamwork going on there. I think David DiCarmo is staying out of line to help Jamison Sampaio out, but it's not going to be enough. And Michael Folds is going to give the push to Lincoln Fox, trying to push Fox up and around, and they managed to do it. They'll be too wide. Oh, and there's a lot of mess off the line there, but Fox is going to hold the spot, and Michael's going to take the spot as well. 2 for 1 on Jamison.
Super strategic by Folds, pushing Fox. Fox then came across to block Sampaio's line, and then let Folds blend in behind. Got to be so careful on that pit entry as the leader goes. A few drivers stay out, but Piatek and Fletcher following Giancarlo Schooler as most of the leaders hit pit lane. Got my eye out. No black flags. 1 or 2 drivers were very close with a late call on pit entry. Joe Hedler, Lincoln Fox, and Ken Copeland stay out. This is something they may come to regret as everyone else from the leading pack pits.
Oh, and there was a little bit of chaos at the back of that line because the front of the line was hitting the brakes on the way in and checking up, and the back of the line had to take evasive action because it was slowed down before the pit cone line or the speed limit line. So
Piatek's my driver to watch.
Spicy.
Sat in the second position the whole race and will come out as the lead of this group. Schooler muscling in though, getting off the pit lane speed limit early as possible, getting up to speed so quickly and being able to blend in just behind Piatek. Josh Olsen and some others. There's Eugenio Polici. He's about to blend right back with these leaders, so no real loss for him. Blends ahead of Donnie Moffat.
And there was some interesting... Oh, no, someone's around at the turn 1.
Is it Kyle Genske?
It was Genske. So the open class leader.
Yeah, they said in relative unison, depending on the latency between Australia and Canada. So this, perhaps taking fresh tyres in the pit stop, gets a little bit of curb in turn 1, loops it around. The car balance may have been different to a lap ago, depending on what Genske did in the pit stop. Probably still retains lead of open class, but it's gone from I'm part of this steamrolling leading pack to there's only a couple of seconds between myself and Logan Fry. This is the group that haven't pitted yet. Just 3 drivers in this race haven't. Joe Hedler going to lead the lap. Lincoln Fox and Ken Copeland, and they will be desperate to make sure that they blend with the leaders being just the 3 of Piatek, Schooler, and David DiCarmo. with a second and more between them and Jameson Sampaio, this pit stop window could really break up the leading group.
I think Fox made the move on the way in there. Briefly took the lead. Yeah.
Oh, and overshoots the pit stall, finds reverse gear to get back into the pit box. That'll add a second or two for Lincoln Fox as left side tyres are going on these cars while the fuel goes in. Doesn't seem to be happening for Ken Copeland. He's happy with his tyres. He just needs fuel. The old Lightning McQueen special. And out we go.
Oh.
Going to hope to be just ahead of the race leaders.
Just saw Michael Chase, Jeremy Fletcher, and Jameson all taking all 4 tires off as they exited Hogpen. And coming to the line, there's traffic left, there's traffic right. Who's that in the grass there? That's Lincoln Fox.
Something's whack with this rejoin from Lincoln Fox. João Hedler leads the race, but didn't find gear, couldn't get off pit lane speed limiter, had a technical problem or something. Slow, pulling off the racetrack, pulling out of the way for Lincoln Fox. His Piatek trying to jump down the inside.
João Hedler looking like the winner in all this, though, has a couple, maybe a second and a half between himself and Giancarlo Schouler. So going to have a little bit of breathing room while the pack reforms behind him. Olivier Piatek in third, David DeCarmo in fourth. Those two are glued together and pushing hard, and Jameson Sampaio is looking pretty comfortable. He and Jeremy Fletcher put the moves on Michael Chase in ninth as they were coming to South Bend last lap. So a lot of teamwork in that leading pack. It'll be interesting to see what it looks like once everything forms back up.
We haven't seen the clean air pace of João Hedler. If it's like qualifying pace, Giancarlo Schouler is about 1/10 of a second quicker. But Schouler, 1.1 seconds back, really ought to be just on the cusp, the little wisp of that slipstream. And if Piatek catches Schouler and is willing to bump again, then this lead for João Hedler will evaporate. If you had 2 seconds, 3 seconds, maybe you could manage it. They're not bumping Schouler from behind because DeCarmo and Piatek are battling for position in third. They're side by side as they come into the roller coaster. Holding the inside line was Piatek, but DeCarmo from around the outside goes up into third place, and this is where some of the teammates can kind of come together. They're ganging up on Piatek, who gets sent back to fifth position. 15 minutes of racing still to go. There's a little bit of rallycross through the grass on the outside of the hog pen that gets Piatek back into picture. The leading group forming back up again. Assuming Hedler gets swallowed up into this group, we've got 12 cars for our leading pack in the final stint.
Ooh, it's getting spicy, and they're right on each other. Olivier Piatek and Jameson with nothing between them. Jameson makes the move stick through turn number 1, and after a lot of work is going to be holding the outside now through left hook and into NASCAR.
Second pit stops from Camden Hibbett and Lincoln Fox. I think an unsafe pit exit or speeding from Lincoln Fox and Camden Hibbett. So dramas on the pit stop, getting into the box, getting out of the box, on the outlap, falling apart for Lincoln Fox, who will not be part of this lead battle. Bump drafting happening. Piatek not afraid ever to put his front bumper to another driver's rear bumper and try to send them both towards the race leaders, where João Hedler, Giancarlo Schouler, and David DeCarmo are forming up. 3 cars, if they work together, could stay away from the rest and make it just a 3-way shootout for that podium spot. Piatek doesn't want to see that happen, and together with Jameson Sampaio, the question is, does Sampaio want to work with Piatek when Sampaio's teammate João Hedler is the race leader?
It's a good question, and with how coordinated things looked out at the front, I wouldn't be surprised to see that continues.
Would you do the same for me, brother?
Any day.
I don't think you would. I think I'd be leading this race, asking you to get back up here, because it looks like teammates first, third, and fourth. I think you get that band together and you back yourselves in the final couple of laps rather than deliberately trying to cause a 3-car breakaway. I don't know. Giancarlo Schooler's been the quickest driver, led the most laps. He had the pole position, but did he have the best strategy? He drops back into third. He drops back early as well, lifting out of the throttle quite early. Hedler maintaining this 1 second of gap. Interesting to see how this one plays out. I think we've got 6 more racing laps. That would make sense. So still plenty to play.
I got to think that I'm seeing 4th through 11th, 12th formed up now. And as they've formed up, they've started to close the ground, to close the gap up to 3rd place, and 2nd and 3rd forming up are starting to push on Zhao. So I got to think we're gonna be 16 deep when we come to the line with this thing.
Hell yeah, brother! This is then the next group with Robert Hartley and John Miller. Biggest gainer of the race, Cameron Kuhlbeck, in 21st, has gained 27 positions. I think he was one of the drivers that didn't qualify. So he's come from the very, very back into 21st here. Carl Genske still leads open class. Logan Frey is in the middle of this. 2nd in class. And I think Lee Martin. Yeah, Lee Martin's come to 3rd in class. Mr. Clean gaining a few spots through the pit phase.
Yeah, Cameron Kuhlbeck represents Canada, doing well by Canada. Gotta appreciate that, you know. Not the leading Canadian in the race, though. Not the leading Canadian in the race. That honor goes to Mitchell Peak, who's actually having a bit of a moment here. He was following Michael Coates, who seems to be giving back a slowdown, and now they're 2 wide going into roller coaster. Peak will take that position easily, and he's on the rear bumper of Kiro Bodnar, and both of them are following Kyle Genske, who has got the thing pointed the right way. And shame to lose the draft, but holding things together well, not letting the little mistake interrupt the concentration, and still leading in the open class with nearly, I'm going to say 10 seconds back, maybe 15 seconds back to Logan Frey, who's
massive dramas. Massive dramas in 4th place. The top 3 are a gigantic breakaway, and this is 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th. Oliver Piatek jumping back some spots. Michael Fodes gets... There's a massive crash inside of the top 4. The hood flies up off of... I can't pick it. It might have been Sampaio. It might have been Hedler in there. Sampaio. And this is the contact. Look at your top 3. Get away as there's smoke. There's damaged panels, there's cars in the grass and in the wall in the chasing group. And it looks like Zhao Hedler, David DeCarmo, and Giancarlo Schooler are your drivers that are going to contend for the podium inside of the final 10 minutes. A dramatic season opener of season 17 of Spec-5 World Tour. One of the biggest races and biggest fields I've seen in 5 seasons of covering this championship. And you've got teammates 1st and 2nd. The pole sitter in 3rd, and damaged cars in 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th.
Olivier Piatek, we just caught the end of that, but he made a hell of a move up the inside of Jeremy Fletcher, but with the damage on the front of that car, he's going to have to stick to pushing. Luckily, he's been really good at that. Ken Copeland, undamaged, going up the inside easily on Piatek, and going to have the preferred line into roller coaster. Or will he? Piatek pushes back through on the inside. Oh boy.
Well, there was a lot of gentlemanly contact, a lot of bump drafting, a lot of follow the leader, stay in line in the first 35 minutes of this race. Then we had the pit window. Things got shuffled a little bit. And then they saw 10 minutes to go, and the punches began to be thrown. And then they saw the top 3 breaking away, and that's where we find ourselves right now. 4 laps to go. Top 3 all in a line. 4th, 5th, 6th have not been as cooperative. They continue to not be so cooperative. Jeremy Fletcher down the inside of Donnie Moffat. They go side by side through the hairpin turn 1, and they make contact off of the exit of the hairpin turn 1. Ooh.
Moffat almost caught the rear end of Ronnie Coates, but Coates, wise, experienced driver, holds on to 10th place and dodges a little bit of action there. 9th even.
Getting even more dramatic.
Oh!
Ken Copeland, I think, goes around And they have to dodge him. He's dropping spots, many spots. Oliver Piatek, Michael Chase, even Jeremy Fletcher go through. So
I think that was self-inflicted. Yeah, just gets a little loose, tank slapper, and around she goes.
Jeremy Fletcher's now out of sorts, going up the hill through the S's. Eugenio Polici with a relatively undamaged looking race car just behind him. Still looks pretty pristine for Ronnie Coates and Michael Folds as well.
Polici, another one of those experienced guys, knows how to dodge a wreck when there's going down in front of him.
The battle for the lead's on as well. Schooler had gotten back to the race lead against these two teammates. And now, David Docamo goes back to the race lead. Shao Hedler sandwiching Schooler.
Yeah, and from third to first is David DeCarmo this lap.
I tell you what, it's touch and go on how many laps to go here as well. They're doing 2:05s. Crossing the line, it could be 4 to go. If they're quick, this is still 4 to go. We'll get another lap if they keep doing qualifying pace. If they battle 3 wide into the first hairpin, we might only go 3 more laps. Giancarlo Schooler getting his elbows out, but he's 1 against 2 in this alley fight. DeCarmo still holding the inside and his teammate Hedler following in. I think Schooler sees a little bit of sense, drops back into third, but he's going to continue to be feisty, continue to keep these two on their toes. I'm going to have to make a note to myself right now. DeCarmo with the purple roll bar.
Man, it is action everywhere right now. The back half of the top 10 is getting wild. We just had Jeremy Fletcher, Michael Folds 2 wide, and Ronnie Coates is right behind him. It's busy everywhere.
So Michael Chase in 4th, Oliver Piatek in 5th with a damaged car. There's significant damage on the front of that thing. It doesn't look aerodynamically great. And then that next group is now led by Eugenio Polici. It's a damaged Jeremy Fletcher just behind him. Otherwise, relatively pristine cars back here. John Miller has, I think, done pretty well for himself to catch this group as well. And his line is far more tidy through the final bit of the hog pen. So many groups to watch towards the end in this final 5 minutes. Here's the leaders going to do a little bit of swap. Brakes on early from Schooler. He is following DeCarmo and Hedler for the moment. Not trying to challenge them into the roller coaster at all. Shortest pit stop of all of these was Hedler. So if this goes the extra lap,
yep,
I think Hedler's the one in trouble.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I'm thinking Hedler's realized that there's a chance this thing goes long and would love to see it not.
We're doing lap times in the 2:06s.
Side draft is on there for Hedler.
We're 2 to go, but it's touch and go. 2:06.9, 2:07 from the leaders. They slowed the pace up just a tiny bit. Doing this, teammates collide on the exit of the first corner. Schooler gets a perfect view of that. It's gloves off racing inside of the top 3. They've got 7 seconds to 4th place, so they can do this for 2 more laps and still be in the lead. They can't send each other off the track. They can't crash out.
Yeah, there's no Penske. These guys are racing hard to the flag.
So's this group. Jeremy Fletcher ahead of Eugenio Polici. Ronnie Coates door-to-door with Robert Hartley.
The leaders are 2 wide through the upper S's right now, and it was almost 3 wide for a second there. Oh, and the big turn-in. Early brakes, big turn-in. David DeCarmo tries to do the over-under, but it's not going to work. He's going to lose the spot up the inside to Schooler. Schooler's doing everything to park it on the apex and gets the run on the exit, and it's not enough. DeCarmo's got the draft and got the momentum at this point.
And I think we're seeing the white flag next time at the line as well to make this a 21 lap race. They need to get to that line after there's 2 minutes and 6 seconds on the clock, and I think that's what's happening running down Madison Avenue towards the roller coaster right now. Hedler ahead of DeCamo, ahead of Giancarlo Scula, and they have been battling the last couple of laps to see who will start Spec-5 World Tour's 17th season in the championship lead, looking to see if the flagman has the white flag. He's confused us before in previous seasons of Spec-5 World Tour. And to start the final lap, question mark.
Yep.
They are going to be side by side, DeCamo and Hedler.
And the white flag was waving as they crossed the line that time. DeCamo on the outside, getting passed by Joao off the inside. Hard place to live if you're the odd man out in the top three.
Yes, indeed, but your leader runs a tiny bit wide, gets the grass. Scula again is early on the brakes to just coast into some of these braking zones and make sure he doesn't run up the back of the driver in second place. Going to be a Herculean task to get from third to first on this final lap, I think. All depends on what DeCamo does. Does he push Joao Hedler? Haven't seen any evidence of that. Does he pull out of line early? And then there's a leapfrog opportunity for Scula. Gino Polici's dropping back from the next pack. There's some dramas happening on this final lap.
Oh, no. The open class leader, Kyle Genske, had to take evasive action from Polici and wrecked into the outside wall, written off.
Logan Frey goes to the lead of the open class, but who goes to the outright lead of the race? Down Madison Avenue for the final time. Joao Hedler sticking to the driver's right-hand side. David DeCamo closing him in the slipstream. Scula closing them both. We head towards the roller coaster, and it's a defense to the left-hand side from Hedler. We're going to fan out three wide as Scula's got his tyres in the grass. He's got nowhere to go. He's looking at a CFPM roadblock. Bumping doors, banging panels for second and third place. DeCamo has the race lead as they're going to head towards the hog pen. A good run off the hog pen and a slipstream can get your nose in front. The checkered flag is a long way down the front straight, but DeCamo is in front for the moment as Scula runs out wide through the grass. Hedler closing in on DeCamo. The checkered flag ready for him. And by 0.112, David DeCamo wins the race from Joao Hedler and Giancarlo Scula. Piatek there in fourth. Plenty of other drag races down the front straight, but Logan Frey is going to be the driver who takes open class by the looks of things.
I thought so, but it looks like Andy Kosick managed to get around him on the last lap. Andy Kosick leading through Hogpen over Logan Frey. No, that's the wrong. Andy's a lap down. Okay, I was like, what the heck? Yeah, Logan Frey is going to get the fortunate win after Kyle gets damaged on the final lap. And we'll see if we can see it here. You'll see Polici, he has a bit of a moment. All of a sudden, the car gets sliding. He gets facing the wrong way. And as he rolls to rejoin and try to turn the car around, he's just going to clip Kyle. Kyle has nowhere to go. And that car written off into the outside wall. Wheels pointing the wrong way, nothing he could do. Logan, steady race, holds his position and holds on for the win after all of that. The rest of the open podium, Lee Martin, Mr. Clean in second place. Sure enough, being clean helps you out. And Travis Ewart holds on for third, just behind.
Couple big movers through the field in that one, like Cameron Kuhlbeck gaining 32 spots. Mike Oswalt gaining 20, Travis Ewart gaining 22. There was some carnage to be played out in the back half of the race, no doubt. Here's Travis Ewart doing his cool-down lap as we had the last couple of drivers like Louis Formiga to cross the line. So this is the finishing order. Now that everyone has finished, a top three breakaway in the end. And David DeCamo and Joao Hedler working together to box out Giancarlo Scula. Olivier Piatek led the next group ahead of Michael Chase. Jeremy Fletcher, Robert Hartley, Ronnie Coates, John Miller, Michael Folds as a top 10 Ken Copeland in 11th ahead of Kirill Bondar. Gino Pollicci finishes 13th in the ends. And then Mitchell Peak, Ray Lombardi, Cameron Coolbeck. We said 32 positions gained in this race for Cameron Coolbeck. Logan Frey will lead open class with that result. Mike Oswalt and Sean Hayes 18th and 19th with Lee Martin in 20th. Gold numbers on the driver numbers, by the way. League supporters who make the continued success of Spec-5 World Tour possible. There's Travis Hewitt with second in the open class. And then Todd Martin, Lincoln Fox, Geordie Fike, Brian Zabelski, Otis Adams, Rui Coimbra, Daniel Artozo, Paul Murgatroyd and Greg Mack, Christian Ost, Andrew Gilliland, Jason Stalker, Peter Rasorkis, Gareth Brocklesby, Kyle Genske, sort of a late retirement there on the final lap, gets scored 36th position, and he does get scored on the lead lap because he towed on the final lap, having started it, I think. And then behind, well, he ends up ahead of everyone who was a lap down because he had started the final lap. Michael Coates, Andy Kosick, Josh Olsen, and Lewis Formiga there, the last driver who finished, I think. Donnie Moffat was 4 laps down. Jamison Sampaio 5 laps down. Mark Kruger 6 laps down. Derek Putnam 7th, and then Camden Hibbert, Nick Janney, Marcus Bonato, Renan Ribeiro, and Eric Quiros. Not sure everyone started the race. Ribeiro and Quiros maybe didn't, but the rest of them retirements there. And incredibly thrilling, a little messy at the end, but incredibly thrilling 45 minutes of VIR for Spec-5 World Tour to kick off season 17. I haven't looked. Who can we get to for a chat, Devon?
Oh, we got plenty of choices. I got third place, Giancarlo Schooler, after a heck of a battle there at the end. Breakaway of 3 forms, and you pushed real hard, but third place was all you had.
Yeah, a little unlucky there at the end. I think I probably should have entered Oak Tree, probably P2 or maybe even leading. I tried to play it from P3 and it just didn't work out in my favor, but led most of the race and had a great race the entire time, and it was tons of fun.
Yeah, I was counting on my pinky toes, but I think you managed to get the bonus points for leading the most laps there and certainly put in a hell of a qualifying lap.
Yeah, the qualifying lap just all came together really well. I've been away from my sim with, the IRL MX5 Cup stuff. So to come back and put down that lap felt really good. And then, lost a little bit of time at the pit stop, which hindered my leading of laps. But overall, just a great race.
Yeah, quality stuff. It looked like there was maybe a little bit of teamwork happening up at the front there.
Yeah, I'm, great friends with Oliver and Jeremy and all those guys. But it's also good, get Davi and Zhao and those guys in there as well. It was a good battle. I think they were kind of working together at first along with Jameson, and then the Americans were working together. So it was a cool little, combat we had there, and all just fizzled down to 3 cars at the end and, just got outnumbered. But nonetheless, tons of fun, and thanks to everyone involved.
Well, a quality race and a quality result, and I have no doubt with what you showed today that we'll be talking to you again soon.
Sounds good, guys. Thanks.
Cheers.
Giancarlo Schooler in second there. Charles Hedler finished second. Congratulations. Bit of teamwork towards the end there as well to break away from the massive pack that was the early racing style. Hi, hello.
Maybe he just doesn't want to talk to an Australian, Haynes. That must be what it is.
Okay. Hey guys.
We got you.
Congrats.
Hey guys, can you, David, to help me?
Yes, I hear you.
Davi Carmo.
Yeah.
Traduz para mim, Davi.
Hello, guys. I will try translate for him because I don't speak the perfect English, but I will try. Okay.
Some teamwork for you both at the end there, and the pit strategy to try to break up what was the 17, 18 car leading pack was so important.
Então, nós tivemos um bom trabalho em equipe e fizemos um bom trabalho nos boxes também. E depois que a gente saiu, a gente conseguiu ser agressivo. Isso ele disse a você, João.
Fala para ele que, tipo, a gente já tinha treinado economizar combustível e que a gente fez uma boa estratégia de equipe, mas que no final não tem equipe. Eu e você queria disputar, a gente queria ganhar e era cada um por si no final.
So he talking about we are already doing a lot of race on this track, and we're doing a lot of tests about the box and everything, and we are the same team, but we wanna which one wanna win the race at the last. So we want to go strong, but with a respect.
And Davy, how did you guys find Spec-5 World Tour, and how are you finding it after one race? Obviously, to be up front is great.
João, como você descobriu esse campeonato e o que você achou dele?
Cara, eu achei muito legal, ele é muito competitivo e eu descobri através do Nicolas Shepard. Eu assisti uma live do YouTube dele ontem à noite, numa pré-corrida, e aí ele me falou desse campeonato e eu me inscrevi ontem à noite mesmo.
So he know about this championship with Nicolas Shepard, and he watch like a stream, and he really like this race and this championship.
And Davy, for you, race winner must be a good feeling as we start the season 17.
Oh yeah, I'm pretty happy. So I try to save fuel at the beginning, and I make a good pit stop and go up at the end, and it worked. We work as a team, and we're aggressive when we need to be. And I really need this win because I had a bad race on the last days, and I'm very happy. And thank you everybody, thank you for organization for this championship, and thank you for my teams, yeah, PM. I really enjoyed this race, appreciate everyone.
Thank you both. Second, João Hedler. First place, David Tocamo. And best of luck with the rest of season 17, you both.
I'm so sorry. Can you repeat again?
Congratulations for the win, and best of luck for this season 17 of Spec-5 World Tour.
Oh yes, very lucky because on the start I don't have a too many. I'm not on the good shape on the start, but I think I'm doing a great race, and I really enjoy. This is more important for me.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much, guys.
João Hedler and David Tocamo, teammates there, locking out the front two positions as we kicked off season 17 of Spec-5 World Tour in incredibly thrilling fashion. 48 drivers taking to the track, 35 finishing on the lead lap, and David Tocamo leads the championship. TFPM Sampaio turning out in strong form for a new season of this incredibly competitive iRacing MX5 championship. Giancarlo Scuola showing incredible speed, but not having that final finishing touch with the fuel strategy and the timing to make a run for the lead in what's always incredibly draft-dependent racing. We can't wait to continue to bring you Spec-5 World Tour for the remainder of this season. So if you're watching on HJBC, please give us a like or a subscribe. We always enjoy bringing you great racing like this I've been David Haynes with Devin Peters and Michael Derby. We'll see you in a week's time for the next round of Spec-5 World Tour that promises to deliver more of the same.